Yeah, see, we've got Andy and Ryan, and so I think we could.
Whenever you want to start, Mark.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and start?
Hey, I'm in now. Sorry for the delay.
Ryan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay, and I see Andy Potts, you are there. And who is?
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Andy. Who is on the iPhone on the right-hand bottom? Hi, Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hey, buddy.
Okay. Who? The person with 608-358-2954, please identify themselves.
They're muted. Do they not know they're muted?
They should be able to hear me.
Yeah.
You're muted. We'll try again. With the person who's, we're seeing a phone and the number, it's muted, and the number is 608-358-2954. Would you please identify
Is that
yourself?
Don?
Pardon me?
Don, are you on the call?
Don, is that you?
Just Googling it, it brings up Dawn's name.
Google that number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Dawn said she'd be able to join from 7:30 to 8 and then have to step out.
And it brings up
Is
her
it Dawn?
phone number on the
Yeah.
Okay.
city website. Yeah.
Okay, hello, Don. I hope you're not getting snow in Green Bay yet. All right, I'm going to call the bike meeting to order. Phil, would you please do a roll call?
Sure. Sorry, I'm a little slow to get going, so I hope I don't forget anybody's name here because I'm doing it all from memory. Chair Mark Hamilton.
Here.
Alder Joe Maldonado.
Here.
Andy Potts.
Here.
Kelly Jetzer.
Here.
Brian Husselman.
Here.
And Don Krim.
We're pretty sure it's her, but she's still muted. Okay, so we have a quorum, is that correct?
We do.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is, we get to you later, it's on the agenda here, is do approval for the draft minutes of February 6, 2004. Is there any discussion on these minutes before we would consider a move for approval? Hearing none, we will move approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Just as a heads up, Mark, we need a motion in a second.
Oh, sorry.
I second.
Move
I
for approval.
Kelly moved and I thought Joe seconded, so I think we have it. So we should be done. We had a move and a second and a vote, so we should be done.
Okay.
So next, we have public appearances for non-agenda items. There's nobody in the room other than, I'll introduce Mark Wilkerson from Bike Fitchburg, who will give an update later on in the agenda, so he's here for the agenda. And I don't see anybody else in the room. So, Phil, you can move along to ordinance 2024-08.
Okay, I'll do a screen share here. So this ordinance, if you read through, you're familiar with it already, but just give a quick overview. This ordinance is updating the bicycle committee to become the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. It updates the committee's responsibilities, oversights accordingly, and it puts the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee so it becomes advisory to the Transportation and Transit Committee. So generally, this is about restructuring the bike committee to include pedestrian stuff. This is connected to the upcoming update of the bicycle and pedestrian plan. There were numerous conversations about pedestrian infrastructure oversight not really specifically falling under the bike committee, TTC, or anything else, and so this is looking to correct that by putting this committee over both of those areas.
Okay, we'll open this proposal up for discussion?
Mark, this is Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, so I guess I would say I'm supportive of the idea of adding pedestrians to this group. I think that makes sense. Honestly, I was around when this group was first created, and there was a discussion at the time of including pedestrians. There's a number of political reasons why that didn't happen, but I think we're now going back and fixing that to put pedestrians in. But the concern that I have with the ordinance as written is it's essentially, in my view, it seems like it's gutting this committee by no longer making it a body unto itself. We would, under this, now be only an advisory body to the TTC, whereas we're currently we're body unto ourselves and I guess ultimately advisory to the Common Council. So I guess I don't know if anyone on staff has an answer as to why that piece was made. It seems like we could have simply added pedestrians to this board's or this committee's charter without removing its authority to act independently. If anyone has any insight into that, Phil. Otherwise, I guess that's my main concern with it is the removal of this board's authority in effect.
I don't have any insight into that. Mark, I think you had more conversations about this. I don't know if you are clear on that.
I never got an answer to it, other than I agree with Andy that it is effectively gutting this committee because becoming advisory to a commission who already has a full boat, and Viking takes in sustainability, fitness, recreation, and transportation. And if we put it under there, we've got a bike league. I'm getting mixed messages from the city. I'm being told by the city leaders to go to gold. To go to gold, we've got to strengthen this bike committee. This effectively limits its authority and puts it under somebody else that's already got a full agenda. So that concerns me as the chair and member of this committee. But I never got a full answer. I would agree with what Andy has proposed, is that I think we need to look at this in a different way, and certainly restructuring makes sense. This committee can get done, the bike ped plan. I've already stepped back on some pedestrian aspects of this, but I think if we've worked so hard to get here that we're taking a step backwards, and that concerns me. So I didn't have any firm answer, and when I met with the mayor, she said for us to take a look at it and give her our feedback, and that's the feedback I'm giving as this is sitting before us. Kelly has her hand up.
Just a question and a clarification. Because we are a committee, isn't it true that we can only make recommendations more so than a commission has more teeth than a committee in general? If by the true definition of those words, is that true?
So this is Ross Kaler. I'm the staff representative for the Transportation and Transit Commission. But from conversations with Valerie Zisman, the city attorney, in city ordinances, there's no legal difference between commission and committee.
Okay. So
I think the bigger difference is between the standing committees and the advisory committees than it is between boards, committees, commissions. That's more just semantics.
okay.
So again, my sense is for the most part what Andy shared, and that we still need to restructure this committee, but we need to not take away its ability to do things and put us under another group who, again, Ross, and if I'm going to be honest, your committee's got a lot of stuff on their plate. And how it's going to add this, in addition to everything else, that's one piece of Viking as a transportation vehicle. So I would agree with Andy. I want to ask the other members your feedback on this. We've got Joe, we've got Dawn, and Ryan on there. Any comments from you folks?
Yeah,
I think,
I mean,
go ahead, Ryan. Yeah.
I'm already a member on another advisory committee, and I'll say that I personally haven't noticed that we are, I guess, limited. Although I am concerned about the move from being an advisory directly to the council to an advisory to a commission that's advisory, or that reports to a council. I mean, that does definitely seem like some sort of a shift backwards to me.
Okay. Don, welcome to you. How's Green Bay?
It's good. I don't know what happened. I couldn't do Zoom. I was driving in, and then when I did the telephone, it fully muted me. Like it wouldn't let me unmute. So I am here and have been listening. So quorum, present, all those good things.
Any feedback?
And I'll quickly, I agree with Andy. I mean, we've done such incredible work as the precursor to bringing it back into the fold that this step back in authority really does not speak to the importance of the work. So I agree with Andy. We really need to continue to have the same stature that we've always had so that we can move this important work forward.
Okay, thank you, Don. Phil, I'm going to ask.
Sorry, Mark, I have two things to cut in with. The first one, and I hate to be a wet blanket here, but I think we may have neglected a motion and second here again.
I'll second.
What was the motion Don just seconded?
This is discussion.
Yeah, we're in discussion, Phil.
Right, this discussion follows the motion and second.
Okay.
I think the appropriate motion would be a motion to approve. Then if someone wanted to amend it, they could second that as the discussion proceeds. But I think that the correct motion would be a motion to approve.
With amendments.
Well, amendments could come out during the discussion.
Okay, all right.
And then you would have an additional motion to amend.
I got in bed at 11:45 last night, so I apologize for not doing a good job running Robert's Rules of Order with this meeting. So is there a motion to approve the amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
The ordinance.
I do have an amendment coming.
I'll second it.
Okay, and then the second thing I was going to throw in there, and thanks, sorry to interrupt that, is I apologize for not having more details on this particular detail. I can dig around this week and see if I can figure anything out about the specifics on Bike and Pedestrian Committee being advisory to Transportation Transit. I can say that I think Ross would agree with this. There hasn't necessarily been a lot of coordination between Bike Committee and TTC, and given that they both do deal with, albeit different elements of it, but transportation infrastructure in Fitchburg, my suspicion, and this is just my guess here, but that it may be an effort to better align the two to make sure that we kind of have a right hand knows what the left hand is doing sort of thing. But I can definitely dig into that and get back to the committee with what I find out.
Just from the discussion and amendments on this from TTC, I agree with what Phil just said. In my opinion, that's kind of the reasoning behind these amendments. And I know some of the discussion at TTC based on the which should Bike Committee be advisory to Common Council or to TTC was that the members of TTC felt that that coordination would be much better if both commissions were kind of working closer together.
Again, I respect their opinion, but I disagree with it. And I think that when I hear secondhand that the TTC spends too much time on bike stuff now, doesn't make any sense to me. Third point is, we've got you here. The TTC member has been invited to every meeting since I've been on this council, or committee, excuse me. And I think we need to work. There's no reason that can't be done. So again, I'm sitting here saying, for the last couple of years, we have been dealing with to make biking, to move it up within the city. And this group has done a lot of great things. And we have let our leaders know. We've got an alder on this committee. The mayor is linked into this. And there's been an invite, as I said, from somebody from your office, Ross, to attend every meeting. There was some transition in people that impacted that, but I think it's been here. So I don't think we need to have it report to make it work better with TTC. That's my opinion. I'm one person. So again, is there further discussion on this motion? Yes?
I have a question about, so as you just mentioned, Mark, a TTC person is supposed to attend these meetings. Is there also talk of having someone from the bike committee always show up and be representing at the TTC meetings as well? Because that might sort of more effectively build that cohesiveness that seems to be missing.
So, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were talking about a Public Works staff member.
Yes, but that public works staff member was on the TTC.
I'm the staff contact for the TTC.
Right. Yeah. I'm talking staff. But Kelly's got a good point. At the same point in time, I would clarify, as we restructured this committee 3 years ago, we invited Bike Fitchburg to come to our meetings. They didn't used to come to our meetings. So we've got a relationship where Bike Fitchburg is having a piece of biking in the city. This group is doing other things more at the high level. And I think, again, we've got something that's working, including the messages I'm getting from the city leaders, not from the staff. So again, I think that I like Kelly's idea. So we have to, is there any further discussion on the proposed motion on the floor?
Yes. I'll just make like a technical note of something I've seen in the past, which is I think oftentimes issues that relate to cycling that show up on council don't get referred to this committee. So I would just say that, and I don't have like at my fingertips the specific instances in which those have happened, but that's just something when we talk about, I guess, the influence of this committee is something we should take into consideration. If there's some sort of a road project that involves bike lanes, if there's, something that in which biking is adjacent to the issue, that it should get referred out here so that we can discuss it. And oftentimes that I've noticed that has not happened.
Thank you, Joe. Other discussion? Andy, you just unmuted.
Yeah, so I would make a motion to amend this ordinance. Phil, I'll get you the edits here, or if I can share my screen, I could also do that. And I think in part addressing Kelly's question, so I would suggest renaming it to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Council. So not advisory, but would just be Bicycle and Pedestrian Council would be the new name of the body. In any pieces under the ordinance where it references committee, replace that with council. Add all the references to walking or pedestrian that were included in the original ordinance. Then also, instead of having 5 residents, I would suggest going to 6 residents. So at least in part, we could start to, as we add pedestrians in and want to have more of a pedestrian voice on here, we could have at least one additional member, and then going forward as members' terms expire, people are reappointed, that would be a consideration that goes in, but we could sort of immediately have at least one person who could be primarily a pedestrian on that.
Andy, it would need to be 2 just to keep it in an odd number, so we need to go to 7.
Sure. I guess, well, that comes back to the question of, is the chamber representative is currently a voting member of the body?
No. No. She's ad hoc.
Under the ordinance under the ordinance just says one chamber representative. I think if we specify non-voting, then we would have six residents, 1 alder, we'd be at 7 people, so we'd have an odd number.
Andy, I can stop sharing if you just want to, if you want to do a screen share. I think that'll make it easier for me to jot down everything accurately.
Sure.
I just have one
Go ahead.
comment. I think Phil can jump in here too, but I think before naming something a council, that might have to go by Valerie. I don't know if a body can be called a council besides
But
common council.
we can vote on this,
Yeah.
and we can refer it back. But I think what you're hearing, Ross, is this needs to be referred back to get looked at again. I think that message has been kind of clear from everybody that's talked about it. Just for the record, Phil, we just had Tony Hartman step into the room.
Had to get the tree off the driveway.
Yeah, Tony had a little weather problem this morning. Tony Hartman's from Bike Fitchburg. He's former bike committee, as well as he was involved in putting together this committee and has worked with the bike ped plan. So we have a motion on the floor to amend the proposed ordinance, and that's what's being discussed.
And I guess to Ross's point, if the group's more comfortable with, we obviously have things called commissions. If we wanted to call the bike ped commission, I'm also fine with that. But I think the idea of getting to, if we want to elevate it, make it clear that if the concern is committees or advisory, I think then just kind of the terminology to go with something other than committee.
Okay, is there further discussion? Yes, Kelly.
For a question, are we now saying we wouldn't report to TTC and work through them, but would we go with more of a partnership if that's possible?
I think that's a given, Kelly, and again, there was no intent before to not do that.
Okay,
That's what I was trying to say. That's the same thing with Bike Fitchburg. There was no connection before until Tony became president, and we started linking with them and inviting them to our meetings.
but if we write it into this amended resolution, is that how to make it real clear that that's the expectation
I think we
instead of
can.
a request?
I think this needs to go back to the city leaders and be rewritten, and I think that's a very valid point to ensure the comments that others have made, that we don't lose sight. At the same point in time, I think Joe's comment, this stuff comes up that we don't know about. There haven't been many, but there have been a few. I think we had our ear pretty good to the grindstone about what's going on with biking in this community. So, and now we've got to deal with pedestrians too, which I think we can adequately take on. So, Tony, am I going out of order if I see if Tony wants to make any comments about what's proposed, Phil?
You didn't register, do you have to
Yeah, he's got,
register?
did you register, Tony?
No, I haven't registered. But I'll do that.
Okay, please register.
Yeah. Are we doing that on paper or are we doing that online?
There is,
I think,
over here,
Right
Tony.
over
Go
there.
ahead.
I see. I just had one question because I was coming into the middle of the conversation, but Andy may know this better than I. The difference between a committee and a commission, that conversation was being had a few minutes ago, and it does seem to me that the reason, at least that I think several of you reached out to me about this meeting this morning, was the diminishment, if you will, of the role of this committee, and I guess, or making an advisory under another committee, which is the same as demotion. It's like going from the majors to the minors. So I guess I'm curious. I never really knew, and maybe Andy knows this. Does the commission have more authority, or in some way? We have CETA, which is somewhat different, but otherwise we have both committees and commissions. Can you answer that, Andy?
And I think Ross answered it pretty well earlier before you got here, but I think legally, no. But I think there's a perception that committees are advisory, whereas commissions have. I'm used to dealing with state statutes where, yes, they do have a distinct meaning, but I think under city ordinances, not really.
Okay. So thanks for recognizing me.
Yes, and he is now registered, Phil. So, is there any further discussion? Go ahead. Somebody's getting ready to talk.
Oh, I just said thanks for to Tony for registering.
Is there any further discussion on the motion on the floor in front of us? And the amendment?
Mr. Chair? Mark, so I guess I would withdraw my motion for council and go with, would move the revised motion with commission.
Okay. So Phil, are you getting all this on that document?
Yes, I am. I'm good now. Thanks, Andy.
Okay.
And I'll email it to you.
Could you
If it passes,
could you repeat back to us what we're going to be voting on here in a second? Because I know that Dawn has a commitment at 8 o'clock.
Sure. So just in the different sections, the first part would be changing from a bicycle committee to a bicycle and pedestrian commission. It would be making it clear that the Fitchburg Chamber representative is non-voting. It would increase the number of residents from 5 to 6, so it would keep us at an odd number of people. It would add and walking to the list of qualifications. It would remove the strong interest or background in developing and promoting events, which is part of the original revision. It would then add another change to commission, add and pedestrians, and then also the original ordinance had removed that the bike and ped plan was that this body would be the primary body responsible for reviewing that document. So I restore that back to the current language.
Question, Kelly.
Comment. I just emailed an alder who said committee, that by definition, a committee is supposed to be advisory to a commission. A commission directly advises the council. So we would want to be officially a commission.
Okay. It's this.
So I second the motion if we are there.
Okay.
And so if you call the question, I can vote, but I do have to run.
So is there any further discussion on this motion? And if you vote, as I understand this, I'm going to try and be briefed on. If you're voting for the yay on the motion, you're voting it with amendments. You're voting nay, correct?
We need 2 votes. We need one to amend it, and then we need a second one to approve the main motion.
Okay, all right.
So you just have to call roll twice.
Okay, so Phil, you want to go ahead and call the question for us then?
So we have a motion from Andy on amending the ordinance as he outlined. So we'll need a second on that amendment, I believe.
Don seconded that.
Don
seconded, okay. So then, Mark, you would call the vote for that amendment?
Okay, I will call the vote for the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that amendment.
And then we need a motion then we need a motion and second to approve the ordinance as amended.
Okay.
I think we already had the original.
Will we just go off the original motion then? Okay.
Yeah.
So we've now amended that original motion.
Can
So-
we add another amendment to suggest that we have one bike commission member be assigned to attend TTC and be a voice at TTC so that we don't have the 2 differing, because bike committee and TTC are often asked opinions about something, and if they each know what the other one's saying, you're gonna be
Then
able to make.
I think we have to then re-vote on everything again. You just put an amendment to an amendment to an amendment to an amendment, and we just voted on that amendment. So it's been approved.
So
We'd have to
we
unapprove it.
can't,
We
we can't
I
just
think we
second
can,
the amendment?
I think we can do that with working relationships because we work with the Parks Department all the time. And we don't go to their meetings. I just think it needs to be a working relationship within the committees and it can be done without, we're gonna lose Dawn, we're gonna lose our quorum here. So I think let's put that down as a friendly codicil or something like that, that's what I would call it.
Okay.
But it's a good point.
So we can only make one amendment, we can't have another amendment that we would vote on before we vote on the entire resolution?
You can't have 2 amendments.
So if you,
So we, could have another amendment that says one member of this commission would serve on TTC.
I think the way it's normally structured is it would be in the TTC ordinance or
Okay.
so
So
I think that's where it's normally housed, just how our
Okay.
ordinances are written.
I think other than when alders are specifically assigned to committees, it would be, and we did lose Don, but we still have a quorum, it would be unusual, I think, for the ordinances to stipulate one committee member crossing over into another.
okay.
So
I don't know if we have any other committees that do that. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding.
TTC does, actually.
yes,
They do have it in their language?
Board of Public Works, yes.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Thank you for coming. Okay, so where are we here? We voted on one, we need to vote on the second one, correct?
A motion hasn't been made on that.
So we got a motion made. Is there any further discussion on that?
Not to be a Budinsky, but I think Russ said it has to start with TTC, is that right?
For Kelly's point.
That's just how our ordinances are written right now, so I just wanted to.
Because they're already commissioned, they can,
No, just the commission, or the board or body that is sending someone to another committee. Basically it says TTC will have one member of bike commission or committee or whatever it is.
okay,
Instead of bike committee will send a member to TTC,
okay.
so.
So you're suggesting we hold off and have TTC do an invite rather than us?
It would be a
Invite
separate
ourselves.
ordinance, yeah.
Okay,
But I think it's a great idea, and I think there's no reason we can't do that. So let's move on. We've got a big agenda today, so let's make a vote on the second motion. Phil, would you please reread the motion?
Yeah, so right now we have, so that second amendment is struck, is that
yes,
correct?
yes, because TTC
So we are,
could do it instead.
so we have a motion on the floor by Andy, seconded by Don, to approve ordinance 2024 008 as amended by Andy with, he read through the edits a couple times, but most notably replacing committee with commission, specifying the chamber representative is non-voting, and calling for 6 rather than 5 citizen members.
Plus the alder, don't forget the alder. That makes it odd.
Right. Yep.
Okay. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you folks for this good discussion. We still have some work to do here, but I think it's going to allow us to continue to do the good work this committee is, or whatever we're going to be called, is already done. And we will wait for a invite to work with TTC on the point Kelly made. But in this, you can take it forward with this. Phil and Ross, if we need to meet with the groups, I think that's fine. And we'll get it from there. But we got a lot to do, so let's move on. Next on the item is resolution R6324. Phil?
I think we need a motion and second again, and then I can.
We've already discussed this 4 or 5 times, folks. What it is it's 2 RRFBs that I know our Alder Joe took through on this. One's on Seminole Highway, and the other one, again, refresh my memory, is on, where's the other one?
It's in front of Forest Edge.
Okay.
Elementary School.
It's near Fort.
Yeah, over there in the new Terra Vista development. So is there any further discussion on this?
Mark, we need a motion on the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a motion to approve?
We've got one by Andy.
I'll second.
Seconded.
Is there any further discussion?
Now we can have discussion.
Is there any discussion? Again, my only comment, and I apologize for not getting to bed till after midnight last night. It was already discussed here, the one on Seminole several times, and our TNT folks did or Public Works folks did the study there, so I think I support this. Is there any further discussion on the motion on the table?
Just one thing, and if anyone's wondering why the big difference in cost, two things. One is the one out by the school is 50-50, the school's paying half, I guess.
That's not shown in this cost, though. That's true, but it's not shown in this cost, if that makes sense.
So when it says
The 9,500, that's the full cost.
that is the full cost of the
Yep.
whole thing?
Yep.
Okay, so it's really only 4,500 that we're paying then?
33.
For that particular
Oh, for that
one?
particular one, yes, half of,
Half of
9,500.
what it says there? And then the other one is much more expensive because the one on Seminole is gonna have some, detectors that
Ye-
will allow you to approach and not have to get off your bike and just push a button?
right, so the one on Seminole Highway and at the Cannonball Path will have thermal detectors so that a little bit before a biker gets to the crossing, the signals will go off.
So more automatic, and the other one
Yes.
will be,
Just push button.
okay.
And the Seminole Highway one will also have push buttons as well.
Any further discussion on the motion in front of us? Yes?
Just a quick comment. One, I'm glad to see this Cannonball one go in. This was something we were debating. We had enough money to put in one of these one of the RFBs, and it was kind of almost a coin flip as to whether or not we put it on Cannonball or onto Cap City, and just knowing that both of them really needed it, so I'm glad to see that going in. And then just a kind of a comment to Ross as you're working on the detector. Just, I guess, make sure the placement of those isn't too far back. I just know because I ride that area every day, and I will come up to the intersection, but then I take the side path on Seminole Highway. So I just know oftentimes as I'm coming up, I can see cars slowing down, anticipating that I'm going to go across, even though I'm putting my hand out to signal that I'm turning there. So just so we don't have it inadvertently going off for people who might be turning on the side path, and then just kind of getting drivers kind of in the mindset of not everybody's actually crossing when they see those lights going off.
Yeah, that we're installing these ourselves as city staff, so that calibration of the sensors is something we're gonna look at and make sure they're functioning to everyone's preference, basically.
Wonderful.
And not giving false positives.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion, we have a motion on the floor to approve this. We'll look to our alder member as this goes forward to support this for us with the council. And all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Okay, Phil, projects impacting the bike network.
Yep. I'll cover two of these. Ross, if you don't mind, since you got a little bit more info on number 2 and 3, I'll let you speak to those rather than my stumbling through them. South Saline Road, the traffic lights are operational. That's a pretty short one. If you've been anywhere around the Saline, Lacey, and Trail intersections, those lights were blinking for a bit. They are fully operational now. As construction on the north part of the Saline reconstruction will begin this year. The last one, there was at our February meeting, I noted that Dane County Parks was doing a little bit of hazardous tree removal on sections of the Capital City Trail, and those were shut down briefly for a few days while that was going on. That is complete. And then, the Wayland and BRT notes there.
Yeah, just one addition to the South Saline comment. The Lacey and Saline intersection is back under flash mode right now. We're doing some additional changes there, but that should be back to fully operational soon. And then as far as the Wayland Road paved shoulders, we've been directed by city administration to look into grant funding for this project. If we decide to go for grant funding, the schedule on this might move. If we don't go after grant funding, then it would be constructed this year. Then for the BRT, there's actually going to be a presentation on the locally preferred alternative, which is that's a document that Metro Transit has to submit to the federal government for the grant that they have. That presentation of the draft locally preferred alternative will be at the April 11th TTC meeting. We've invited Board of Public Works, we're going to invite council, and then also this committee to come to that TTC meeting or watch on Zoom.
Can you give a little more?
Presentation.
Can you give a little more info on the BRT? I know there's there's a site up by the shopping center on Fish Hatch, and aren't they talking about another one down close to here?
By site, do you mean the station?
The station's in the middle of the road, yeah.
So there will be, I believe, 5 stations.
Oh, really?
They're basically spaced half a mile apart in general.
Okay.
Starting, on the north end of Fitchburg, we'll have one at Greenway Cross, and I'm doing this from memory. Post Road, High Ridge Trail, Caddis Bend, I believe is the next.
Yeah, that's Hatchery Hill.
Yep, and then down at McKee Road. The McKee one won't be right at the intersection with Fish Hatch and McKee. It'll be off on Brendan. Yeah. And that's as far south as it'll come. So basically, the locally preferred alternative goes over the actual route, and then the stop locations. Those are the 2 main things it goes over, and then that will go through. After the draft is talked about at that TTC meeting, it'll go through Board of Public Works, TTC, and Council for approval in the next round of meetings.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on projects?
Yeah, I just had a question for Lawson, make sure I understood number 2. So the project is set to go forward this year, but you are seeking additional funding or alternative funding because there might be some out there, is that the thought?
Yes, correct.
So it'll happen either way, but we may be able to do it with additional
with
state
our
or
money.
federal funding.
Yep. And part of that is there's grant money for shovel-ready projects, and that is about the closest we have to a shovel-ready project. So.
Did you say though that if we pursue the grant, then we don't get started as soon on the?
Correct. Most of the grants stipulate 2025 construction.
Again, I think this has been the 4 years I've been on this committee, we've been talking about it. So I think getting some closure to it would be good. And if that's the best way to go at getting it, then we need to move forward there. So I'm going to, again, in the spirit of trying to get us done on time, I'm going to move us down to the ATIPP funds discussion. And I got to admit, I didn't do a lot on this. I got a note from one of, I think, Ryan and Joe's neighbors, Sonia Hackle, is that correct?
Yeah.
Hackle? About sharing, letting us know that there are some grant applications out there at Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program, and these may be some things we can apply for through the Bike Ped program as we update it, and or Phil's got it up there. So, and then in addition, she brought up in her note that there was some more TAP money available, but I got to be candid, I couldn't find it out there, and maybe someone else did. So, Joe, can you add anything here on this and what our bike committee should be doing to help look at this? Because I'm a firm believer, if we don't spend city money, let's take advantage of these grants. And I know staff have resource constraints, but we got to figure out how we can get these grants. Joe, any comments? You're muted. Okay.
Sounds like looks like he's having some audio problems.
I see that. So, okay, so Phil or Ross, can you add anything here on this as we look at this? Because I think we're just starting down this road. I don't know when these grants have timetables to them. Phil's got it up, but as I said, I could not find anything about more TAP grants and timeframes.
Well, the time frame for the ATIIP says
June 17th.
June 17th,
Right,
so
right.
that's pretty quick.
Yes.
And then I don't know if this is the additional TAMP grant that you were talking about, but that's part of that shovel ready program I was talking about. That's basically being done through TAP.
But I couldn't find a deadline. All I could find online with TAP was the October stuff that you guys submitted some stuff for. But again, I just couldn't find it. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right place. So what, as a committee, I guess I would ask our staff to help us take a look at this and see what we need to be applying for. What is potential? There's the Greenway project out there that's been discussed, which is a positive aspect. There are numerous other things if we need more RFPs. And I just think, again, this would be a good opportunity to work collaboratively with our other city staff to figure out how we can go for this. And if there's anything that we'll get funded for.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should add in, Ross, I don't believe you were CC'd on this, but Steve Arnold wasn't able to make the meeting this morning. I missed that he had registered his support of both the ordinance and resolution as written. For this one, he mentioned the possibility of a boardwalk along Sayin Road between McCoy and Post Road. So I don't think we have any plans on that right now. I don't know that we would consider that one anything approaching shovel ready, but that was a project that Steve called out for this. I know that we don't have great connections between that section of the Capital City Trail and kind of North Fish Hatchery. But that, just because I don't remember if I forwarded that to you or not, Ross, but that was another project. I know we have been looking at extending the multi-use trail on the south side of McKee Road all the way from Seminole to Fish Hatchery, and we've looked at the boardwalk on County Highway MM connecting the Cap City Trail to Southdale neighborhood. But yeah, I also haven't looked at this in much detail, so I couldn't say if any of those are viable projects for this.
Phil, I think I'll offer one piece. I do know a little bit from sitting on CETA about the connection of the MM. Is it MM or M, Ross? MM. I think they're going to try and put that in a TID. So again, I think circling back to Mike Zimmerman would be a good plan there, because that has been identified since Southdale came online. It's been identified and discussed at our group too. So yeah, it would be kind of almost a thing that goes over the McFarland. You almost got to build I don't want to call it a bridge, but an elevated walkway path. So. Yes, sir.
One additional thing I have on my list that came out of Bike Fitchburg was bicycle trail signs and using some of that federal money to be able to increase our signage. I'm sure Mr. Arnold has very specific details behind that, but I wanted to get that out there.
Okay. So I would suggest that this needs some more research quickly, only because, as Kelly said, we've got a June 17th deadline. If we're not going to apply for that, then we need to, I think we need to figure out, we need to give a go at this. So I would ask, like we did with B-Cycles and TAP Grant, that we find a way to talk about this the next month or so, and if so, put something together. Yes, Kelly?
Is Sonia interested in helping write a grant for these things? I wasn't able to understand whether that's where she was going, like, hey, do you want me to help write a grant for this, or was it just an FYI?
I will look to Joe and to Ryan. I think you folks know Sonia. I don't know Sonia. Is she offering to do that, or is she just bringing it to our attention, folks? Ryan, you're unmuted.
It's my understanding that it was just kind of a heads up. This tranche of funding exists, and you may want to take advantage of it. But I mean, I can touch base with her and see if she has any interest in that.
Joe, you were going to say something?
sense.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Ryan, if you'd reach back out to her and then get back to, Phil and I think that'd be great, and we can follow it, but I think it's important we stay on top of this, because again, we won't meet next again until June, and it will certainly be too late to put something together, so let's do some offline work to try and figure out what's available. And then again, I guess, Ross, if you could clarify, is the TAP thing, is there anything in TAP, or is it?
Yeah, the TAP, there's basically some new TAP funding that I'm looking to apply for Whalen Group.
Okay, all right, so we can put that in the minutes, I think that's a good thing, and TAP has helped us before, so that still means, remember with TAP, is the city's got to fund 20% instead of 100%, so, okay. All right, in the spirit of time, I'm going to move us along. The next point, again, is the bike ped plan. So as we talked earlier, we're now going to take on the pedestrian portion. I, last week, went over in detail the plan. As you know, this committee went through and looked at piece by piece by piece of the bike components of the bike ped plan. I went back through last week and pulled out everything that talked about PEDS. And I call it PEDS because I worked in healthcare. About PEDS in this plan. And I'm going to give to Phil later today. I did it the same way that we did it last time. We identified the components. There were specific recommendations. And then we said, it's done, it's not done, who's responsible, when was it supposed to be done? And basically, I think there are pieces that have been addressed, but what I'd like to give an assignment to this committee is to read in detail pages 52 to 56. That is the components of the PED specifically that's in the plan, and then go to the back on page 81 and 84 and read the recommendations around pediatrics. I will send this to Phil to put out to the committee with the minutes so you can see it. Or I think I can send it out to you folks to look at. And then at our June meeting, as we begin to tear into the bike ped plan, we've at least got pedestrians on the street, and we'll get it going. It isn't anything. We're doing some of the crossings, thanks to our colleagues. We've talked about traffic calming. Again, those are pieces that are in there, but they're not real specific. So I'll get this to you folks. I just didn't have time to send it out, and it's on an Excel spreadsheet. You can look at it and give you comments. So other discussion about our assignment, because coming to our June meeting, we're going to start in earnest. I'm assuming as we get to the next one, Phil, did the city get out the RFP yet for a consultant to help the project?
I'll be doing that this week. I've got the RFP ready to go. Just need to go through the process now.
Okay. So we will start in earnest, and this committee is our primary steering group, and it's because we've had Joe on. Joe was on the previous one. Don was on it. Andy was on it. And getting a couple reps from Bike Fitchburg and a couple more reps from the city to kind of be the group to task this through and get it done. And I told that our city leaders, meaning Mayor Julia and Chad, that we try and have this knocked out by the end of the year, which I think with somebody, a consultant, will be able to do so. And there's a lot of stuff that's been done. You'll be amazed. If you look at this thing again, I'd encourage you all to look at it again. It's 87 pages, I know it's long, but you'd be amazed at what this committee has gotten done since that 2017 plan was passed. So I thank you for that and gave you all an assignment. Any other discussion on the bike ped plan?
Question
Yes.
about the revising of that plan.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something we're going to hire someone out to do, or is that something that will be done internally?
As I look at this, and I'll look at the people that served on it in field, my assessment from having served on other city projects like this, you work in collaboration. The word for this plan is refresh. We are not totally starting from scratch.
Okay.
We've got something out there. So I
Yeah, so that
work together. Go ahead.
That's what this RFP is for, is we're going to bring in an outside consultant to help us revise this plan. It's not going to be a major overhaul. Primarily, we want to make sure that we update to reflect the things that we have accomplished from the 2017 plan update, add anything new that we feel was missed, or new things that just are applicable now, and then really make sure that we incorporate areas of Fitchburg that were not in existence in 2017. So Terra Vesa, some of the developments along the southern edge of the urban service area, Southdale, and the portion of town of Fitchburg right off of Fish Hatchery Road. So a lot of those changes, we're not going through the whole plan development like we did in 2017 with the survey and kind of deeper analysis. But we do want to make sure that the plan is updated to where Fitchburg's at right now.
And he's right, and to reflect that also, there are things in that current plan that we never got to. We looked at our high priorities through that plan and moved that to try and get to gold. And we focused on safety first, and then we kind of went from there. But there was a lot of things in that plan that was passed by members of the council, which I think Andy and Tony were on then, that basically didn't have any track back through. Who's accountable if it doesn't get done? And more importantly, if the council says no money for this, then we need to put it on the side. So we will review, once it's done, I probably won't be chair, but I hope that we review sections of this every meeting, just like we've set up priorities. We set the priorities based on the plan. So our 8 priorities as a group, I think, begins to address what's in the bike ped plan. So it's a positive thing. It was supposed to get done during COVID. We didn't do it. And so the Bike League, in addition to the Bike League saying we want more commitment from the city in resources and staff and time and money, number 2 was to update the bike ped plan, and they know we're doing that. So, all right, Phil, you're up next.
I believe next is a council update.
Oh, okay, okay. Joe, you're up. Sorry.
Sorry, I had to get off mute. I do not have any updates at this moment.
Joe, I have a question for you. As our Alder rep for the last couple of years, when the elections are over, will Mayor Julia reappoint Alder reps to all these groups? Is that kind of how the city works?
My understanding is that anybody who's up on any committee or commission, she will get in contact with via phone, and they'll express whether or not they want to continue on the committee.
Okay.
And then also obviously look at, if there's been anybody that's applied to different committees.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you about that. So next on the agenda is Mark Wilkerson, who is the secretary for Bike Fitchburg. And Mark has a handout that I will get to Phil for you to put with the minutes later on. But again, I think as a preference, I want to say that I think the last 3 years, this committee, when I joined this committee, Bike Fitchburg was sitting over here and the bike committee was sitting over here, and we've done a lot to try and work on things together. And I think we want to continue to do that. I think they do have different functions, but it's all about biking with them, and we've got other things we work on together. So, Mark, we extended an open invitation to Bike Fitchburg to give an update at our meeting. So, Mike, the floor is yours. Or Mark, sorry.
Yes.
I hadn't getting sleep last night.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's my first time at this board meeting, or this committee, so thank you for that. I wrote down pretty much, pulled from our last board meeting minutes, some of the more important things that we're working on. I don't know if it's too much or too little. I'll try and go through it really quick. So the Greenway System update, we've been working, we have a subcommittee that's been working on the bike ped plan. The documents were reviewed by a subcommittee of Bike Fitchburg and sent to the TCC. So that our inputs are out there for that. We're taking a look at the OpenStreetMap review. We talked about some proposed additions to the bike paths that were being discussed. There were some comments that I understood that we were unable to complete those improvements since eminent domain is not available for some of that work. Landowners don't want to sell. So I heard from Bike Fitchburg a recommendation that the city put plans in place so that when that particular land is in redevelopment, that multi-use plans get put into, or multi-use paths get put into place. And we want to make sure that the bicycle facilities are part of the Healthy Neighborhood Initiative. Better Connected Trail System, a bicycle network analysis. The assessment was done. There's an announcement in June on our Fitchburg City ratings. Indication is that we recently dropped from 42 to 40 from a scale of 100. We're expected to be a rating of 46, which is good news. It's an improvement. Consensus is that good biking scores about 50, so we're getting close to where we want to be. One of the things I made a note to talk about at the next board meeting is what are the next steps specifically are we going to take to help ensure that we get there. We focus on bike education, bike rodeos. There is a DOT course that's offered every spring, teaching safe bicycling. Bike Fitchburg has one attendee that's committed to attending that meeting. So we're looking forward to that. Mark attends our Bike Fitchburg meeting every month, and we are collaborating with him in a meeting this evening to talk about sponsor-related bike rides, so we'll be doing that this evening. I know that we have the June event that is not being held in Fitchburg. The Speed Festival, I believe is the name of it.
It canceled.
Yeah, it got canceled, so looking for opportunities to have the public have more opportunities to engage via some bicycle rides and maybe some other stuff. Policy and Public Works, I've already mentioned this with the AT-IIP, sales for signs for trails. So Ross, I think Steve already gave you the feedback. I just brought that forward here. I've been chairing a project, Bright Lights. We're in partnership with a group from Chicago called Bike Lane Uprising. The goal is to get to 200 donations for light sets. Each light kit is a donation of $14. Once you got 200 lights donated, then they would put out the manufacturer and they would ship us bike lights. I currently have 100 bike lights in my office for distribution. The Fitchburg Chamber stepped up about 140 bike light kits, which got us to 200. The intent is to partner with them for the Bike the Burg and be able to advertise their commitment and the city's commitment to safe bicycling. Something to note is these bike lights are not swag, they're not door prizes. They're high-quality lights that are very bright. They have a very good charge on them. I intend to distribute them some examples. I call it dusk into night. So towards the evening hours, getting teams of people to be on streets and trails and paths, trying to find people who are riding without lights and offer them those lights. No strings attached. We might ask to try and get a picture, right, so that we can have that advertisement. That's going well. I said we had 100 out of 200. Columbus actually was donated to us some of theirs. Our last 100 are expected to arrive sometime in early summer. So we've got plenty of those to give out. Also working in education, we have the league cycling instructor, kind of out there for the League of American Bicyclists. It provides us additional resources for educational opportunities around the community. It also helps Fitchburg with their effort in becoming a gold bicycle friendly community. We have 2 classes that we're signed up and trying to get folks registered for. The Smart Cycling class is April 20th. It's a prerequisite to the LCI seminar. We currently have 3 people registered for that class. That class will occur regardless of how many people we have in it. So if we don't get any more than 3, then we're going to have the class. The League Cycling Instructor Seminar is a 3-day class. They require 8 people to attend. So far we have 4 people registered. We have tentative interest to fill that up to 9 at this point, and then we're kind of spreading a wider net in marketing to get some additional attendees. And then we have Cycling Without Age, which I know this body is interested in and have had on their agenda in the past. This is in partnership with Cycling Without Age out of Copenhagen and also the Wisconsin Bike Fed. In February, we were able to get official affiliation status with Cycling Without Age, which kind of makes us an official with them. I just sent out the Rev Zero yesterday of the presentation, and our Bike Fitchburg subcommittee is reviewing that this week. Mark's reviewed it and provided me some feedback to include. The intent is to bring it to this committee, which I've added to my notes as a step, by the way, present to the mayor and the city council. And then hopefully the target is to begin fundraising in May. This is a private donation. There's no funding expected from the city on this activity. But I personally think it's a great activity to help with our seniors and get them, out of their places where they live and get them out on the bike trails. The big thing is wind in their hair and some of that multi-generational contact between the people that are riding on these and the people that are piloting them. So I'm leading that personally, and I was actually interested in that before I ever got involved with Bike Fitchburg, so hopefully that will go well. And then the bicycle-friendly business outreach. This is for the bicycle-friendly businesses. It was mentioned that if all of our current applicants are approved, then our total of 15 plus 7, we should be able to actually make it on the national leaderboard, which is, again, another item in favor for the Fitchburg Gold status quest. I included some hot links there for the league map, specific to Fitchburg and specific to Wisconsin. So I will get an electronic copy of this to Mark, and then Mark can forward it to Phil.
I've already got it, I'll send it through. But go ahead, go ahead, don't save me from scanning it, so go ahead.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Mark for, one, taking on Cycling Without Age, because it wasn't something under our committee's purview, but more importantly, again, I think the relationship with Bike Fitchburg has dramatically improved over the last couple of years, and as we move forward, I thank you guys for taking this on, and we'll continue to do so and continue to have that link, and I think, as Kelly suggested, as we get a better link with TLC, in the long run, it will make us stronger without diluting what we're trying to do. So keep up this stuff, and we'll get it posted. Yes, Kelly. So thank you, Mark, for joining.
Thank you for joining. And I have one other event that I don't see on here that I think everybody on the Bike Fitchburg and the Bike Committee might be interested in. On Monday, April 29th, Wisconsin Bike Fed is having the Wisconsin Healthy Communities Summit all day on campus. And it's at Memorial Union. And it sounds like there are lots of really good events.
Can you send us that link, Kelly?
Yeah.
You can do that legally.
Okay.
Is that in association with their Teach by Safe? Who's the third event on their calendar?
This is a community, like a statewide event. There's going to be an amazing keynote speaker at noon. They have breakfast and lunch if you sign up for the whole day.
Okay.
So I will send
I got it written.
a link. Wisconsin Healthy
I'll look it up and add it.
Communities
Thank
Summit.
you. So the last thing, and I won't go, because I did include a copy of our events that we're tracking,
Yeah, so
participating with. or whatever.
this other one, I mean, this isn't I guess you could ride to campus and attend, but it's not a bike riding event, but it is by the Wisconsin Bike Fed, so.
Thank you.
And there's one more that while we're doing that Kelly mentions. The third week of July is the Dane County Boys and Girls Club annual Move and Groove. It's the third Saturday in July every year, and it's going out of McKee again this year. So again, that's just an FYI. Their link is up and running, and I'm on that committee as well as being the liaison with Fitchburg. So Ross, I'll be needing to reach out to you to confirm what roads are going to be getting chip sealed around here under construction, but it's not urgent. You don't need to do anything.
Can I add another event?
Sure, Joe.
So on this Saturday, April 6th, there's going to be a bike giveaway from noon to 2 at Belmar Park that's being led by Mike Grady and Dave Herbst.
Yeah, it's not on here. Yeah, it is up there, yeah.
It's up there.
Yeah, it's up at the top, so. Some of us are working on that, so we'll see you over there.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Mark. Are there any further questions of Mark, or do we have any further announcements to go over this morning for this committee? Okay, hearing none. Our next meeting is, I think it's June 4th, Tuesday, June 4th. With that in mind, we've got a lot of work to do before that, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a move. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Kelly, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, folks. We are adjourned. Have a good morning. Stay dry. I hear.